So, man, we wrapped up on Esperanza and Spalding. There's a lot to it. Who doesn't know Esperanza and Spalding, for God's sake? Let's do some research because you're missing out on some great stuff. The music is amazing, man. My daughter loves Esperanza and Spalding. Wow. My daughter identified with her many years ago because she also has an interesting physical appearance, being a skinny girl. With her big hair, she looks like an atomic ant holding a huge acoustic bass, right? So, you think it's going to go badly that the poor girl picks that up to play and says, wow, man, what?
Man, I lived with Esperanza. I followed her very closely as she studied and practiced. Oh my God, she does things we can't even imagine. She plays him some pieces by Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, and which are always counterpoints, right? Two voices. She plays one voice on the bass and the other she sings. I don't think there's any recording of her doing that, but it's the most beautiful thing to see, man. It's amazing. I don't think there's anyone else who can do that. That's one thing. It's like she has two brains, you know? One is playing here, one voice and the other singing like that. It stayed in the center. Playing, one is already hard. Can you imagine? So that was one of the aspects, a detail among many that I could mention. That I had, contact from living with her.
And she always really liked Brazilian music, right? There are the moments of her playing Egberto Gismonti, right? Clown.
Yes, she recorded on her first album, Janjo. There are 2 songs by Egberto on that album. Or just one. I think on that album it's just one. But yes.
A truly beautiful and incredible thing there. Discuss in more detail about Eliane Elias, which was interesting because you played with her at the renowned Berklee, a prestigious institution. And from that,
a new opportunity has already come up for you, right? Dude, with Eliane Elias, here's the thing. I've been a fan of Eliane Elias since I was 15 years old. I've been listening to her albums. And I've always been obsessed with the guitar in her recordings, which was the absolute master, Oscar Castro Neves. I'm highly influenced by him. I would like to play guitar, bossa nova, just like him. So for me, it was always him who recorded the guitars on her albums. So I had already transcribed a lot of stuff. And then when I was at Berklee, I was still a student. The director there, Rick Beck and Larry Bayon, the directors of the guitar department, they told me, no, the next artist that comes, it's you who will play. Did you take lessons with Rick? Was it with him that you came? Yes, Rick was my teacher. It was funny because he had a dual role there, right? Yeah, he was the vice director of the department there.
I had some classes.
He also taught some classes. I begged him to accept me as a student because before going to Berklee, I already had an instructional DVD of his, of up chords and stuff. So I was already a fan of his, Cool. So I went to ask him and he said, no, I don't know. I said, no, I've already studied your entire DVD. I need to continue now, Rick, please. Then he said, okay, fine. Actually, it was like this, man. I'm going to tell the whole story. One beautiful day, I was doing some things that I found interesting, at Berklee. I was going to give some lectures at some music colleges because I was looking for some side gigs, some alternative gigs, right? And then one beautiful day, I went to his office because I wanted to ask for an increase in my scholarship, right? So I went there to ask for that. And then he said, well, let's see. It's cool that you're doing this stuff. Let me check it out. Then he opened my transcript and saw that I already had a scholarship. Good, like that. Then he got mad, man. He said, what? You want more money? You want more scholarship? You already have a great scholarship here.
He really got mad.
He really got mad. And he kicked me out of his office. He kicked me out. And I went there. He really kicked you out. He really kicked me out. He kicked me out and said, get out of here. He said, don't get in my way. I left almost crying from the guy's room, right? So after that, because besides asking for the bag, I was also going to ask to be his private student. And then after that, I sent an email like this. Then about 2 days later, I sent him an email saying, man, you have a knack for cursing me out. Because this was already the second time. There was another episode too. So I was already on his blacklist. He wasn't very happy with me anymore. So I said, man, you curse me out so easily. I want you to curse me out. Straight up every week, right? I need to be your private student, please. exactly because of that, because you have no fear at all in tearing me apart. Then he replied like this, laughing, okay, then I'll tear you apart every week now. Let's set it up. You can be my student.
And that's how you became his student.
So after I started studying with him, I didn't switch teachers anymore.
Private teacher. Straight up.
Straight up. So, dude, it happened that in the first class, I saw that he liked it like this, of our connection there, and he felt a bit regretful. And then he wanted to do something. And he said, no, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do here. He said, dude, I was playing that Yamaha silent guitar, very similar to this one. And then he said, that guitar of yours there, wouldn't you like to have a golden guitar? I said, oh, I would like that. He said, I'm going to get you an endorsement with Godin. He said like this. Then shortly after, he told me, I've already talked to Godin. You are the new artist for Godin. And soon a new guitar is going to arrive. And it really came. It arrived there in his room. In the next class I went to, he welcomed me and gave me a guitar in the box, brand new. So the following week was when Eliane Elias came. And then Eliane Elias, I said that I was already a fan of hers. I had already transcribed Oscar Castronev's guitar. So my meeting with Eliane was amazing because we played the first song. She asked, what song do you want to play? I said, oh, choose one. She said, wow, let's play Chega de Saudade. One that I knew, we can play that one. And then Eliane said, after we finished playing, she said, in those words, if you're looking for a job, you're hired. I want a guitarist in my band and you're hired. Wow, right? I was really moved. And then I already gave the news to Rick Pro, the teacher, and he already had this great news to share with the owner of Godin, right? He said, the student you sent the guitar that I recommended here has already won a big international gig. Here, I'll already be traveling promoting your instruments. So Ali really brought everything together like that.
But with Eliane leaving college, you already...
Yeah, I started touring with her while I was still a student. I was still studying and traveling already. With her, it was the first time I traveled like this too. Outside until then, I had only been to the United States and Rio Grande do Sul. I won't even say Brazil, just Rio Grande do Sul. I had never traveled. The first time I came to Rio de Janeiro was with Esperanza. The first time I went to São Paulo was with Esperanza. The first time I went to Bahia was with Esperanza, right? I didn't know much of Brazil like that. And with Eliane, I went to Europe for the first time, still a student, and then I kept going, traveling. And
How long did you follow her for a considerable amount of time after college? Or did you go straight to Esperanza?
no, for many years. With Eliane, for many years. The last show I did with Eliane was in 2016. So it was from 2006, and the first one was in 2006. So I can say that I played there for a good 10 years.
But then you alternated with Esperanza. What was it like?
I alternated, and at that time there were some coincidences where I would get home from a tour with Esperanza and then leave with Eliane. The dates started to intertwine. And
With Eliane, was it guitar?
guitar too. I traveled with both, just like with Esperanza. I traveled with two instruments.
Okay. And you, at that time, were you already using those electric instruments, acoustic and electric?
It was always electric.
Always electric, okay. We're going to have a moment to talk about this here. I don't know if you already... Do you want to wrap up the topic? Eliane Elias, do you want to say anything else? If there was any point.
How did this cup get filled?
I filled it, I didn't even see it. There was more... Any interesting point?
Man, Eliane kind of adopted me. She is a person of extreme importance in my life, someone I love deeply, someone I've been a fan. That was a dream for me. Unbelievable. And Mark John is the best bassist on planet Earth. Anyone who has played with Mark John will agree with me that it's an impeccable bass to play. You feel very comfortable. So that was a learning experience for me. And as I said, I had never traveled anywhere. And with them, I'm going to tell a story. So for the first show we arrived, it was in Copenhagen. The first trip I took was to the Copenhagen Jazz Festival, which is one of the biggest in the world. I arrived in Copenhagen at the hotel at 7 in the morning. So when I got to the hotel, they said, look, the room will be ready soon. A little while ago, in the meantime, if you want, you can go have breakfast over there. I said, okay, cool, I'll go over there. So I went over to the breakfast, feeling a bit nervous, you know. So I sat at my table and then I looked up like this, and there, the first person I see is John Schofield at the table here. Then I looked at the other table and the Yellow Jackets band was there. Everyone was there. Russell Ferrante, Jimmy Haslip, Mark Bayan, right? Oh my God, it felt like I was in a snake's nest, you know? You start to see like, damn, there's a snake over there. So I got up to serve myself. Right at that moment, John Schofield also got up like that. So there was this thing for cutting cheese, like it's a little wire, you know, for the cheese. Yeah, I got it. So you make a little wire thing like that, which cuts the cheese. And I wasn't able to do it, you know. Then John Schofield came up to me and said, I said, this cheese, and I couldn't cut it either. Okay, also, let's see, hold on. I'll hold the cheese here. You twist the wire like this there. See if you can do it like that. There we go. We managed it there. Then I introduced myself. I said, hey, Mr. Schofield, right? I'm your absolute fan and all that. And then after that, I went back to the hotel lobby to get the key. There, your hotel was already ready and Mark John was there. And then John Schofield came over, and Mark, they're really good friends. They've recorded together, right? So many albums. And so they met up again like that. Then Mark said, hey, let me introduce you to Ricardo here, who is our new guitarist. And John goes, oh, I already met him over there. We were cutting cheese together. You're already my friend. It was really cool. And then John said, hey, you didn't tell me you were playing with Mark John, right? Dude, he said, I'm jealous of you. He said, I'm jealous of you. It was really cool.
2008.
No, sorry, 2006. I was still a student at Beck, and
Was there anything cool that happened there? On the road with Elian?
good, a lot of things. But it's good. This one from Do Beck, from Jeff Beck, was with Elian too, and with Elian. There were several places I had never been to. Also, Elian only plays at top festivals, like only big festivals, big stages,
How old is she today? About 70 years.
something like that, right? I don't think she's 70 yet. At least she doesn't look it. She still looks beautiful. I remember, is she around 70? No, man, I think she must be only 60. Maybe 60, but not 70.
I remember there when she went to Burkina Faso, she didn't want to say her age.
She didn't even let us film because I participated in her show there in Berklee.
She was 60.
How many years is that? 16.
That makes 65.
She'll turn 65 in March, her university.
It's March.
In March, that's it. So she's 64. And 4 is then right.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. I remember her with Tom Jobim because she was 18 years old.
Check it now.
But that was in the 70s, right? Yeah, that's right. 78, man. She was 18 years old.
And wow, with Elian, right? In Elian's band, I had the opportunity to meet and travel the world and record with my great friend, Rafael Cara. Damn, a heavy drummer. A heavy drummer. I'm the godfather of his son. Rafael is a great friend. Then I met several musicians too, other drummers who played sometimes well, speaking of drummers, another drummer who is an absolute idol of mine, whom I've been listening to since I was 9 years old. When I was 9 years old, I bought a Tom Jobim CD, and I would listen to the CD, focusing only on the drummer. I already had my band when I was 9 years old, and I knew that my drummer would never be able to play the way that drummer over there played with Tom Jobim. It was Paulo Braga. And did I tell you that I recorded on Elian's album, Elias 2, on Bossa Nova Stories, which is an album that only has greats except for me? It's like this. It's Toots Tillmans, Ivelins, Mark John. And the drummer, who is Paulo Braga, is the great Brazilian drummer, in my opinion. And for me, being there in the studio with him, like recording together with him, that also felt like a dream. The sound engineer was Joe Furla, who had just won his first Grammy with John Mayer. And the producer was Steve Rodby, bassist from the Pat McTinney Group.
Nothing much.
So I was there, man, surrounded like of idols, really. Like that was a very special moment in my life. And that's where my friendship with Paulo Braga, the great drummer, began. After that, we came to record several songs. After that, besides this album,
Where was Paulo living at that time?
in Brazil, I went there especially to record. We also did a show in Argentina with Eliane Elias right after that. It was really cool. So I also traveled with him. So we went there in Argentina. He would say to me, if you leave the hotel, you call me, okay? I want to go with you. Don't leave me alone here. And then he's really cool. I'm going to meet him this week now.
That's cool.
We're really good friends.